welcome to Maroon Sports Talk, your one-stop shop for all things EKU sports. Today we will be discussing a tale of two extremes with men's basketball after winning 8 in a row and then losing last night to last place Bellarmine. We will discuss women's basketball and the hot streak that they're on. We will also be discussing the start of softball and baseball season, and then we will kind of dive into get a little preview of EKU football. Early the spring game is in April. My name is Nick Speer.
I'm Jenna Evans.
I'm Caleb Wells.
I'm Joey Aguirre.
All right, guys. We will also be diving into esports as well as per usual. First things first, we will discuss last night, the loss to Bellarmine. Jenna's over here shaking her head. The good and the bad. We'll start out with the good because we'll get that out of the way first. Turner Buttrey had 22 points. Meyer Wool continued his hot streak of double figures with 15. Holt had 12. And kind of the bad here, I'll get your thoughts on this, Caleb, after this. Devontae Blanton only shot 7 times and had 5 points. And Jordan Crawford went 0 of 10 from the field and 0 of 7 from the 3. What are your thoughts after winning 8 in a row and holding first place Lipscomb to 57 points and then just last night kind of just fell on her face? What do you think happened there?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of two things, or a combination of both. One, it's a little fluky. That team does not beat us. If we play them, 4 more times, we're winning all 4.
Yeah, game of 7.
It was just a little fluky. They shot better than they usually do. We shot worse than we usually do. But there is some truth to, they played up to their competition, and we probably played down to ours. We're coming off a huge win against Lipscomb. And so, the Colonels probably go in there thinking this is an easy dub. Don't play their hearts out. Come out a little slow. That slow start, I think I said so in the article I just wrote to recap men's and women's. I said, just like the women, the men started out in a slump. The difference is they never got out of that slump. So it was just a bad shooting night. They shot 36 from the field and 29 from 3. Just horrible shooting from the Colonels. You look at our leading scorer in Turner Buttrey, and even he was, I think, 4 of 10 from 3. So he's still not shooting the highest. That's not that bad. But, just not a lot of high percentage shots being taken. And then they just corralled around Blanton. They kept the ball out of Blanton's hands. They didn't
Anytime
want him
he touched
shooting.
it, just right to him.
That's what they did. They doubled him on most plays. When he got into the lane, they tripled him sometimes. So it was just... They wanted to keep the ball out of his hands, not only as a scorer, but also as a passer. They wanted the ball in other players' hands so that he couldn't facilitate offense in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, he was kind of been running the point the fast few games with George Kimball being out. And I really liked that at first he was getting the ball in other people's hands, but it's kind of hard. As soon as you touch the ball, you have 3 people in your face.
Yeah.
We were down 15 at one point towards the end there. We made one final push. I guess also a good highlight of the night, Tyler Andrews had 9 points. And 4 minutes of play. So he came out on the court. It kind of seemed like they were kind of ending, and then he just scored. I think it was 5 straight points. So he made that one final push.
If you look at it, there's multiple times the Colonels pulled back into the game. There were 2 different times that they pulled back in within 5. They were down by 14 at one point in the second half, and still brought it to within 5 points.
Yeah.
And then they only lost by, I think, 6.
Yeah, it was final score 80-74.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
just also another thing too. This is Bellarmine. They're kind of on a winning streak now, I guess you can say. It's their second win in a row. They absolutely decimated
2 wins
Austin
in a row is
P.
a winning streak for them.
They decimated Austin P the other night. Shot over 60%. So this is 2 games in a row. Bellarmine. I think we're the top 10 teams in the ASUN get in the conference tournament. They're making that one final push to be able to make that conference tournament, and then anything can happen. Really, we saw it last year at Jacksonville, the last seed, make it I think to the Final 4 of the ASUN. So
they made it to the NCAA tournament.
Jacksonville was thought it was Stetson last year.
Oh, was it Stetson?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, they made it to the Final 4.
Wrong green team.
But you can at any point though. You can see at any point the team that makes a conference tournament, they can make a final push. I think Bellarmine's also doing that. They're kind of finding their groove. What do you think they need to do? We've won 8 in a row, and then fell on our face last night. We play it seems to be a big rivalry now with Jacksonville. How do you kind of think we need to win at their place to hold a top 4 seed to be able to host at least one playoff game?
Yeah, I think for that game you just got to prepare to be physical. and Jacksonville's always going to be physical. That's kind of their thing, as well as EKU seems to do a worse job of playing down to their competition. So I'm not necessarily worried about them like not taking them serious.
Yeah.
They're gonna play up to them, and it's a revenge game. You look across EKU sports. We've interviewed numerous athletes, and they always mark one game on their calendar, and this is it for EKU men's basketball. Yeah. They want revenge for what happened last year. I know.
And this year, they came in our place twice. Yeah. So I think we need to go in there and beat them at their place.
Right.
Yeah. And then we had one more final game at North Florida at their place. They're no easy out. They just beat Jacksonville. Jacksonville's on a 3-game losing streak. North Florida has a record of 15-14. Turning to you, Jenna, as it seems to be that just something weird with like Bellarmine's. We always kind of struggle against them. Why do you think it is that one opponent, no matter what the record is, it's going to be a close game no matter what?
You know, it's an in-state school. That's always a little harder because most players probably know most of the players on that team. So you're playing against people that you've either grown up playing basketball with and you have a soft spot in your heart for them, and you start playing and then you realize that you should probably start playing a little harder, and then you are a little too late and you have what happened last night happen. Honestly, it crushes me for them because they were doing so well that now you're kind of like, you know that they're really upset with themselves, and they're going into some of the biggest games that they're going to have this season because conference play is about to end, tournament's about to begin, and you know they want to secure that spot for NCAA tournament. So I'm crushed. I don't even know.
You came to the studio pretty upset.
I'm so upset.
How do you think? I mean, with teams like with players, not teams, but players like Blanton and Crawford had such like rough shooting as a team as a whole too. How do you kind of get out of that slump to be able to get your mind right for the two big games, honestly, of the season in Jacksonville and North Florida?
You have to remember that you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. And we've won a lot in the last like half of the season, and you need to get out of that losing streak because you don't want that to begin now. You don't want that losing streak to begin now because you're about to enter tournament play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you have to get out of that as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Just kind of forget that happened. Don't let that one game crush the rest of your season and crush your mentality because they were doing so well. Yeah. And playing together so well.
Yeah,
that they can't let that get to them now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just really can't let yourself kind of get in that shooting slump. I mean, with Jordan Crawford especially going over 10 from the field, it's tough. But, I mean, he always gets his 11 or 12, 13 points. And I think it's also a big reason why last night it was just so stacked up top heavy of the box score. And then nothing after that, you know, besides maybe Tyler Andrews coming in. Maybe that'll give him some confidence, too. I mean, he hasn't really played a lot lately, and is coming in there and providing that one final push for the Colonels. So hopefully we'll get it together, go into practice, work on shooting, work on defense. We were playing defense so well. It's such a weird turnaround, holding now the number one team in the conference and sweeping them in Lipscomb, and then turning around and letting Bellarmine score 80. So maybe just looked really flat-footed last night as well. And Blanton's we got to learn on how he's going to get swarmed every single time with George Kimball being out. So turning gears towards women's basketball, they're on a 3-game winning streak here. What do you think that is, Caleb? And looking at the box score here, for the past 3 games, we've scored 70 points or more in all 3 of those wins. So what do you think is going on there?
From what I've seen, it looks like a much more balanced approach. It doesn't look like you just have 1 or 2 players out there scoring, you know, kind of getting their own, but then like the team doesn't really perform that well. It seems to be a much more balanced attack between like distribution of scoring. You see points coming from Alice Riccinati. You see points from Liz Freihofer. In last night's game, leading scorer was, I think you say her last name.
Angelus, yeah.
Angelus, yeah. She led the game in points, I believe.
17 points.
Right, 17 points. And then Jasmine McGinnis-Taylor racked up her 7th double-double of the season.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's just a much more balanced approach. Coach Todd's getting more players involved. I think his players are getting more confidence, too.
Absolutely.
And he's really found his rotation, too. He's really carved clear roles for the players that he wants to play. And so you see like players like Alice and Angeles playing like 36 minutes a game. And then you see like freshman Maya Wordle, who was playing around 20 minutes a game, now playing 4 minutes a game. So he's really just found his players. He's found who's in a rhythm, and has just done a really good job coaching, honestly. I think he's doing a great job. So shout out Coach Todd.
And you really mentioned that balanced attack. We had 3 road games here at Queens, Bellarmine, North Florida, which is just really kind of all over the place, really.
And they're going to play Jacksonville. At Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So.
Liz Freihopper in the Queens game scored 22 points. That was the leading scorer. And then you turn towards Bellarmine at their place. Caitlin Costner is the leading scorer, 20 points. And last at North Florida yesterday, it was Angela. So it really seems like you mentioned that balanced attack. And when we score over 70 points, it seems like we really come out with the win. We have a lot of size on the team, a lot of athleticism down in the block with McGinnis Taylor, always being able to get a rebound, score, get really physical, get in your face, get in your head. And it just really seems like we have that balanced attack, like you said, and then leading scores every single different night. So it's really turned it around. And we've been able to prove that we can play those top-heavy teams in FGCU, Central Arkansas. So what do you think we need to do to make that final push in the Eastern Tournament, maybe have an upset here or there against the top teams, which we seem we can be able to beat?
Yeah, I would say just, again, continue that balance, but then also I think it's important to still have a catalyst. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get in those games, you got to have – like I look at the Queens game for EKU men's basketball. Like when we got in that tight situation, who had the ball in their hands every single time? Devontae Blanton. Yeah. So like you want to make sure you still have your catalyst.
Have that it factor, yeah.
Right. So like whether that's going to be Alice or whether that's going to be Liz Freihopper, those are probably your 2 best scorers. Maybe Angeles.
Yeah.
But you just want to see Coach Todd have his player that's like, okay, like they're seeing red, get the ball in their hands.
Yeah.
They're going to get us through this close game.
And I think that anyway, with having that it factor, it can be game to game. If Caitlin Coster can go off for 20 like she did the other night, let her. She's really good at driving the ball, getting the free throw line. If it's Freihopper, she's hitting 5 threes a game, in that tournament, give her the ball, And I think we can have that it factor every single night. Now, we want that top 4 seed to be able to host a game or two. And I think we can beat anybody, really. We dang near beat FGCU, and they just played Central Arkansas, who only lost 1 conference game all year, and they kind of blew them out. So we can be able to prove that we can hang with these teams for the tournament. Make sure EKU students and fans in Richmond show out if we do host a game or two. I just wrote an article about that. So be able to show out for these games and have a good home crowd, like there is for the men's games or even like a football game. So anything else you want to add about women's basketball, Caleb?
No, I think that's about it.
All right. We'll turn towards Joey, lead the way with esports, and then just kind of talk about that.
Well, I'll be honest, I did not play my best this past week. This past week was a really bad week for me. I got 6th and then 8th place. And that last week, though, I did get 3rd and 7th, so not terrible. I'm currently 19 out of 30. Our Valorant teams both lost last week and this week.
Rough week for EKU Sports,
man.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Our Rocket League team, same, lost last week and this week. Our Apex team, I'm assuming they lost this week because they got 0 points, but also everyone in their thing has 0 points for this week, so I don't know if they just didn't play this week. But there is some good news.
Some good news. Okay, please.
Yes,
Yeah, it's been doom and gloom besides women's basketball here for the podcast.
I came in sad. I'm going to leave sad.
Our Rainbow Six Siege team, both of them won the past 2 weeks. So last week and this week.
Finally.
Our Maroon team beat Vandals. I have this on their logo. It says Idaho, so.
Is it the Idaho Vandals?
Yes.
Oh, the University of Idaho. Okay.
So
the Dome.
They won 2-0 against them. Next week they play the Coast Guard Academy.
Ooh.
And then
that'd be fun. Actually.
So that's our Maroon team, and then the White team. Let's see. They beat Nelson This past week, 2-0. And then the week before that, they beat West Virginia 2-0 as well.
Mountaineers. There you go.
And then this following week, they play Alice Lloyd College.
Oh, we played them in basketball. Well,
So-
there we go.
Yeah, that's what we have to look forward to for esports.
What do you think kind of the issue is kind of going on with esports this year, just with struggling too in the games? What do you kind of think's going on there?
I'll be honest, it's hard to tell because I only have insight into mine. But if I had to guess, maybe some new changes with like the teams itself, like getting new players on the team, having to readjust and account for what they play, but also what needs to be filled in for roles.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of getting in practice too.
How do you think how important? Obviously, we talk about sports like cohesiveness. Like, is that an issue in esports as well, where say someone has tons of kills going on, but no one else on the team is? Do you think how important do you think that is when it comes to these esports matches?
So, I will say I think it does depend on the game because in League of Legends you can give all your kills to one person and have them be the carry and just focus on making sure they get all the kills and they can help you win the game. But there's other games where you need to make sure it gets distributed evenly so everyone can be able to win their role and make the most for the team.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add? Or what do you think, what do you kind of hope to see from the esports teams like coming in next week or the week after, like some turnarounds? Do you think that can happen? And kind of give a prediction of how much you think they're going to practice before their next matches.
Well, from what I was looking at, I'm pretty sure everyone plays Monday night, Monday or Tuesday. So I'm hoping that Rainbow Six Siege can keep on winning both teams. And then Apex I can't really say much on because they did not play this past week.
Yeah.
However, for Apex, the team in first place has 558 points total.
True.
And the team below them has 267.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that that's going to be difficult to get into for that the top 20.
Yeah.
Because the team in last has 70.
Yeah.
But because they didn't play this past week, I don't know what they need to get up there.
Yeah.
Valorant, I think that just putting in the practice and seeing how well they can do against next week's team is going to be crucial. And then Rocket League, same thing.
Yeah. Well, everybody go watch esports Monday night. Now turning towards baseball and softball, kind of tale of two opposites here. We'll start out with baseball. Kind of having a rough start to the year, 0-4 with losses to Kent State, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, South Alabama twice, and now starting tonight and over the weekend, a 3-game series at University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. Looking at the box scores here against these teams, we're in it until the end, it seems like, and these teams have like late inning explosions, it seems like. So what do you think's going on there? And then the non-conference schedule, 3 games at Ole Miss, at Western, in Carrollton, Georgia, Mississippi Valley twice, at West Georgia, and then kind of previewing early March, a 2-game series against UK, home one here in Richmond, and then once at their place. What do you think they need to do to kind of prevent these late inning explosions?
What's the date that we play UK?
March 4th here in Richmond, and then March 5th at their place.
We're going to be winless by the time that game comes around.
Man.
EKU baseball is in shambles, to be completely honest. I don't know. I don't have a lot of...
I wish Austin was here to talk about
yeah,
this. Maybe we'll get him on the pod next week.
He follows him a little more closely than I do.
I'll watch the game today. I'm really curious.
I mean, from my understanding, pitching is still just awful. Like that was the issue last season. Was pitching was just horrible. They couldn't find a consistent pitcher. I think they played I could be wrong. This might be like me over embellishing, so do not quote me on this. But I thought that I heard that they played 16 different pitchers last season. Like
Really?
over like a short time span too. Like over like a 3-game spread, they had played 16 pitchers.
Yeah.
Is what I thought I had read at one point in one of like Austin's articles.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was bad. They were just turning to anyone and everyone. They were just trying to get anyone to throw a strike.
It seems to be that it's again like there is a game we played. It was a win actually. It was against NKU. It was a win here, and I'm looking at the score. The final score is 20-15, and we were relying a lot of our hitting, and we could hit the ball really well last year, but it just didn't provide. I mean, in baseball, you can score 30 runs, but if you don't have a consistent pitcher, then you're going to be having football final scores, and that's what it seems to be. But without the offense this year, 2 runs, 3 runs, 2 runs, 1 run. And Ole Miss is just coming off a huge win where they beat, I think, the 15th best team in the country.
Ole Miss is probably winning all 3.
So
crazy.
we need, I think, just one win to get us in to conference play. We play Rhode Island 3 times here. I don't know how good they are. At NKU, Bellarmine, Marshall, Western again, and then we play Vanderbilt middle of the March. I mean, it's just
Oh my gosh.
That's a massacre.
that's the middle of conference play too.
Yeah. What a way to get your hopes up, the middle of conference play.
Let's go to Vanderbilt.
Just go to Vanderbilt, yeah. Just get murdered.
So, do you have any? What's a silver lining you think coming in for baseball? We're getting that star pitcher back, and we have pitchers from Tennessee, UK. We have talent on the roster. I don't know if the new coach is figuring out how rotations go, but it's kind of hard to figure out rotations when you're playing Ole Miss. I remember Greg Todd saying that about LSU. So,
right.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's not a lot of positives to look at. I would say, I know Luke Reed's really good pitcher. He's coming back from injury. Hopefully, he's still really good. I haven't seen him play since the injury, but before the UCL tear, he was getting some MLB attention. One of the best pitchers in the ASUN conference. I think now, from my understanding, just from where he's torn his UCL twice. He did it once in high school, and now he's done it in college. So from my understanding, he's now moved to a closer, so his pitch count is a lot lower. But hopefully,
it's weird seeing those late explosions. Hopefully, it's not.
Yeah.
I'll watch the game. I'm gonna watch the game today.
Let me know.
And I'm gonna see. I'm really
I
curious.
feel like he'd be a good closer. But
looking at this roster, it's super talented across the board. But again, we've seen it a little bit where you get these transfers from these high-profile schools, and Caitlin Coster came from the Ohio State University. So I mean, we have talent around the board across EK athletics. It's just with baseball, it can be a little different. Getting in your head, mentality is a big thing.
And baseball's a big team sport too.
Yes.
Like big team sport. So you can have all that talent, but like if you're not cohesive, you're not going to.
What are you kind of seeing from the baseball team, Jenna? And kind of where do you think their headspace is right now? I mean, it's hard. It can be hard as a team. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just 0-4. Now, let's go down to Ole Miss and play 3-game series at their place on the weekend. So, what do you kind of think their headspace is at, and what's your silver lining for the season?
I mean, they started their season on February 14th, and they have been on the road ever since then. So, I just can't imagine. They have to be exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, travel takes it out, especially when it's back-to-back-to-back travel, back-to-back-to-back games.
Yeah.
And these multiple game series, like you get lost once, you play the exact same team the exact next day, and the mentality is probably not there.
Yeah.
They're probably exhausted, and their mentality is not where it should be.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can get back home, get rested, ready for UK.
Yep.
Because that right there is going to be a tough one in itself. I mean.
And it just seems to be, too, also, you mentioned this travel. You kind of saw that with the men's basketball team. They played double overtime at UCA, and then Louisville down to the wire, and then turned around and played UNA and lost by 20. So it just seems to be kind of mentality thing. So what do you kind of think? How do you kind of pull themselves out of it, do you think? What's your strategy if you were just on the road constantly?
I mean, you got to take advantage of every time you can to rest. And even though it might not be bus sleep is not the best type of sleep. Believe me, I understand it. Slept in a dog hammock. It's about as best as you can get. But you got to take those moments to kind of reset your mentality and reset, get rested, forget what just happened because you're about to go into a game less than 24 hours later.
All right, well, moving towards softball here. A lot of good news on the softball. 6-2, ranked 15th in mid-major. I think we should be ranked overall, but that's just me. Wins against Western Kentucky, Georgia Tech, Belmont, and then Bryant, UMass Lowell, and Campbell. Caleb, I'll kind of let you lead the discussion on here. What are you seeing from softball this year?
I think a lot of people just kind of expected, I don't know, a little bit of a slump or a down year. Not that they would be bad, but I just don't think people expected them to live up to what last year was. And I think people just forget how good of a recruiting class Jane Worthington had last year. All those freshmen, I mean, they came back. They're all sophomores. So as amazing as they were last year, I mean, they're all back. You look at Kennedy Drafton, Sharon Duncan, Michaela Mathis, and then, of course, Maddie Rattan.
Yeah, how can you forget?
How can you forget Maddie Rattan?
Yeah.
Maybe the best athlete in all of EKU sports right now. I mean,
absolutely.
She's definitely up there. Preseason ASUN Pitcher of the Year. Won just about every ASUN award you could win last year. Just an amazing standout player that we are happy to have in the Maroon. But a big thing, I don't know, it's really cool. I was looking at the big wins over WKU and Georgia Tech. I don't think people really expected them to get both of those wins, if even one. And they won them pretty steadily, 5-1 against Western Kentucky and then 6-3 against Georgia Tech. But those games took place in the same day. So Coach Worthington made an interesting decision to play Rattan against Western Kentucky in the first game. She pitched in the first game. So obviously you're not going to play your star pitcher 2 back-to-back games on February 7th at the start of the season. Yeah. So I believe it was, let me make sure I have her name right. Yes, Victoria Byram pitched the second game against Georgia Tech, who was arguably the better team, and did a fantastic job. Yeah. And helped us win that game 6-3, and she pitched 6 innings. So that was really interesting. And then we have 2 losses, and one of them is to Georgia Tech in our rematch against them the next day. On Saturday, we lost the game while Maddie was pitching. So not that Maddie was the issue in any way, shape, or form. It was a defensive slugfest. I mean, 1-2 was the final score. Georgia Tech won it in the final inning of the game, I believe. So I'd say a big thing is just knowing how much talent is still on this team. They're ridiculously talented, and Worthington always finds talented freshmen, and she's already plugging them in. You see freshman infielder Jordan Smith getting playing time, and then Skylar Billups with some big plays as well. So, just really talented team. They've added more talent. And I cannot speak. I say that we'll just continue to see them succeed.
Yeah, and I'm really intrigued by this non-conference schedule. Akron comes here twice, Dayton, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Indiana State, and EQ Athletics just did a profile on Maddie Rattan talking about her being in the fire program. That's why she's here probably, and didn't transfer. And the big rumor was that she was going to go to Tennessee or whatever. And we'd go to Tennessee, actually, March 18th. We traveled to Tennessee.
You know how cool it would be to get a win there? Yeah. That would be so awesome.
And I just think this team, I think it was awful last year how they didn't get invited to the NCAA tournament, did they?
No, they lost to ASUN.
At 42-10.
I know.
You don't invite the team to that's just ridiculous.
Because of ASUN.
So, but
another thing too is they played Purdue Fort Wayne last year, which is again supposed to be a team that's better than us, and they beat them both times last year. So I'd say they do that again.
Yeah. I think they beat Dayton here.
I think they beat Dayton.
It's their year.
I bet they beat Louisville again.
Huh.
I think they beat Louisville again.
At
as
their
well.
own place, yeah.
Yeah.
That was they did Taylor Swift night and Greek night. That was such a packed out house of the
That was
softball field,
sick.
and we just crushed them 6-2.
Yep.
Everyone got to see Maddie Rattan in person. So I think it's great. I do think they make the NCAA tournament this year.
I agree.
They had 14-1 conference record, or 14-1 overall record at Gertrude Hood Field. I think they kind of do that again.
They've got UK, but at home this year, so that could be fun as well.
Yeah.
And then they'll have another game against WKU, but it'll be at home.
Mm-hmm. So I think they do great this year. So.
Oh yeah, they're an excellent team. I think they're again one of the better EKU sports teams across campus.
I think they need a packed out field every
Yeah,
single day.
I'd say that's a big thing too. Is like people need to show up and support because
Yeah.
they're good.
Joey,
they're
bring
fun to
everybody.
watch.
Joey, bring everybody. Bring all your friends to Gertrude Field. Watch some EKU softball. So
It's good stuff.
it's good stuff.
It
So
really is.
kind of wrapping up here. I'll kind of throw out the question of the day. I didn't bring it up pre-recording, but if you could see one, I don't know if we've done this before or not, but I'll kind of touch on it again if I hadn't asked it. Kind of wrapping up here. If you could have one EKU team make the NCAA tournament, what team would you pick, and how far do you think they can make a run? So I'll start with you, Caleb. What would you like to see this year?
I mean, I would say
Hope all of them, but if
Yeah.
you had a gun to your head, I guess we'll choose one.
right. I don't know. I'd love to see men's basketball make. I mean, just
Yeah.
March Madness. The feel of March Madness is so fun, and having the school I go to in March Madness.
Yeah, that would just
that'd
be
probably
crazy.
be the team I pick.
Yeah.
If I couldn't pick them, or I think like more realistically, not that it's not possible. I mean, men's basketball could definitely do it, but I think softball maybe deserves it more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think softball probably deserves because they got snubbed last year. I think they're going to be
That was terrible.
excellent this
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
I think they deserve it more.
Yeah. What do you think, Jenna?
Got to be here for the girls. I would say softball.
Softball.
Or women's basketball.
That'd be crazy.
Because if
too.
women's basketball gets to go, then I get to go.
Uh-huh.
So that would be really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, women's basketball or softball. Here for the girls. Sorry, guys.
What do you think, Joey?
I was gonna say softball.
Yeah,
I mean,
the most deserving.
yeah.
Yeah. For me, it would be. I know what Austin would pick. He picked baseball, but
Never happening. I love Austin to death, but EKU baseball will not see the. Oh goodness, no.
I think basketball. I mean, just being able to. I was watching like 2015 highlights when we played Kansas and we dang near upset them in Louisville. So I couldn't imagine like EKU basketball making the tournament and having to play in Rep Arena this year. That'd just be crazy.
That'd be insane. If EKU got Rep Arena, that would be so
my
fun.
expectation this year though is I think women's softball. They got absolutely fleeced last year. How do you not have 42-10 team?
I
and the
have
NCAA tournament.
I have no idea.
And then I think they'll do it this year. All right. So that's everything for today. We'll hope to see you guys listening to us next week. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
See ya.